Career Center Specialist at Rockridge High School. I'm joined by my colleagues today from Independence, Briar, and Stonebridge High School. And we are delighted to welcome parts of the Equinix team with us today. We have with us Damon Artison, who's the Senior Manager of IBX Operations Training and Development. Amber Davison, Sales and Partner Enablement Program Manager. Detlev Geuss, Regional Vice President of IBX Operations. Rob Hepler, Director, IBX Operations, Ashburn Campuses. Jay Obrien, Solutions Architect. Daisy Saulls, Executive Assistant to the Senior Vice President of Americas Operations and Regional Vice President of IBX Operations. So we're going to start off today with Amber Davison telling us a bit about Equinix, and then each of our guests will talk about their positions and backgrounds. Students, feel free to put questions in the chat throughout the conversation, and we will get to them during the conversation or at the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. So thanks for joining us today. What I wanted to go over is the just a little bit about Equinix. And so I'll share with you. Not only about Equinix, but a little bit about Loudoun County and all the data centers that are around in Loudoun County. So I just have this image here, which I absolutely love. It's a Western Loudoun type farmland that you would typically see as you drive through parts of potentially Loudoun areas, but you can see all the high technology that's being used. So really what I wanted to just describe here was just ask you if you're aware, and did you know that Loudoun is known as the worldwide, we're the internet capital of the world, and the majority of the world's internet traffic runs through our data centers in Loudoun. We have approximately 70% of the world's internet traffic passing through Ashburn, Virginia. And it all started back in the 90s when America Online moved to Ashburn and brought in underground fiber and power infrastructure. Then there were a couple of guys who were meeting at Anita's in Herndon over lunch, and they decided to allow one another to pass traffic back and forth across from the different networks they've been creating. So fast forward to 2021, and the internet is basically comprised of these peering points housed in data centers located here in Ashburn, Virginia. So you might want to know, why have the number of data centers in Ashburn exploded? And it's due to companies trying to reduce latency and costs as they want their IT infrastructure closer to these peering points. So the Loudoun data centers provide space, power, and connectivity for the IT infrastructure. And all of these companies, they want it in a physically secure location. So to put it in perspective, pretty much any email sent anywhere around the globe comes through Loudoun County. So if you've ever sent a snap or downloaded a song from Spotify or stored a photo in the cloud or watched a TikTok video, it's most likely been through one of the data centers here in Loudoun. And that is why Loudoun has become the biggest data center market in the world and known as the internet capital of the world. And so what I wanted to share with you is just that Equinix is the world's digital infrastructure company. We're a worldwide global market leader in the colocation and data center space. And this is just giving you a description of all the places where we have a presence globally. So we've got over 220 data centers on 5 continents, 26 countries, almost 10,000 customers, and 340,000 connections. Also to note, we are the first data center company to commit to supplying 100% clean and renewable energy. And this is just an aerial view to give you an idea of where we are locally. You'll see we're right over by the off of Loudoun County Parkway. if you're familiar with where the Redskins training bubble is, we're right over in there, and you can see that we've got many buildings and facilities here in the local area. And so what does Equinix do? So we offer space, power, and connection services, and we offer private direct on-ramp connection to cloud service providers and networks. We are headquartered in Redwood City, California, and we have over 8,500 employees globally. And so this was just a slide that I wanted to put together to give you an idea of the personal side of the business of why do our employees like to work here. One of the things that our company believes very strongly in is culture and values. And we call it the magic of Equinix. And this only helps us internally, but also we're being recognized externally by the Washington Post. We were awarded a top places to work in 2020 and recognized by Glassdoor as a top 100 places to work in 2021. I always like to give my little spiel about how the data centers support the local community. And just to give you some statistics and background here, the data center industry brings over 22,000 jobs and $2 billion in wages to the state of Virginia. The wages for the data centers, we have an average salary of over 100,000. And the revenue, the data centers are by far the largest source of revenue for our Virginia state government. And then I just wanted to give you a slide here just to represent some of the fun things that we do out in the community for community service projects. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, there's my pal Jay Obrien. We participate in Job for a Day, and that's through Loudoun County Public Schools for juniors and seniors who are interested and want to come spend a day with us. It'll be in November. This past November it was virtual, but previous years and hopefully next year will be in person, and we'll take you on a personal tour through our data centers. You'll see in the lower left-hand corner, we go out and we go to, we work with Children's Science Center to bring science exhibits to some of the local schools. The middle picture is just depicting, we worked with Mobile Hope, and we donated new shoes to school children in Loudoun through Mobile Hope. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's Boulder Crest Retreat. We did a cornhole tournament out in the parking lot of our data center. Detlev every year, you'll meet Detlev in just a moment. He hosts a huge Oktoberfest, and so this year we paired up with Detlev and we did a cornhole tournament out in the parking lot to raise money for Boulder Crest Retreat, which is, they serve military veterans. And then in the lower right-hand corner is just a sample of snapshot of one of our Job for a Day November tours. And so again, just keep in mind if you're interested and want to learn more about Equinix for Job for a Day, keep your eyes open for that coming up in November. That's what I wanted to share with you. So thanks for allowing me to give you an overview of our company, Equinix.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate it. A little pop quiz for the students. Who caught what the average salary is in the data center at Equinix? Put it in the chat if you heard the amount. There you go, Nikki. Good job. Now, that's not starting, but that's average. That's a really great amount. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about careers. But how about we start with Detlev? Do you want to start with just a little bit about your role and then how you actually got to your role, and even as far back as your education? Not to mean that was a long time ago, Detlev, but if you could kind of tell us a little bit about your journey, because obviously data centers weren't necessarily around before 1990.
Well. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Marion. I appreciate Amber's giving an overview of what Equinix does and what we do for the community. So my name is Detlev Geuss, and I'm the Vice President of IBX Operations in the East. So basically, I run 30 data centers, and I'm responsible for 30 data centers in on the East Coast, ranging from Philadelphia through Virginia, which is Culpeper, and then Ashburn. Ashburn has the highest concentration of about 15 and 16. And we're looking into building about 6 or 7 more data centers in the near future. And through Atlanta into Miami, Florida. So we have about 30 data centers currently. So a little bit about myself, and we actually had a little slide here. So I can't share that slide with me. I think Daisy's trying to share it. But anyway, I have 2 grown children. One went to George Mason and one went to William and Mary. Both are graduated. I have 5 awesome grandchildren. I know I don't look that old, but I do have 5 grandchildren. And my wife and I actually live down in the northern neck of Virginia. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's basically where the Chesapeake Bay and Potomac meet in southern Virginia. And we have currently our children are actually German Shepherds. So yoo-hoo to German Shepherds because we love them. Very loyal dogs and very good dogs. And when I don't work, we love to spend our time going on a boat, working in the garden. And actually, I built model train sets as a hobby. So you're looking at a very big train set that I'm building right now that I was going to show a picture of you, but we can probably do this later. Anyway, after attending high school in Potomac, Maryland, I went to the German high school right after coming from Germany to the America. I actually attended a vocational school in Arlington. That's where my career started. After the vocational school, not knowing if I was going to go back to Germany or spend the rest of my life here in America, I was started a job with a local engineering firm where I stayed for 10 years. And after the 10 years, I actually was fortunate enough to start another engineering firm at an architectural company. So for my first 25 years, I designed buildings. I modified buildings. So I, for example, I worked on embassies, on hotels. I designed office buildings. I designed data centers. And as you look on the top right, the second picture from the left, it says AOL headquarters. I was actually responsible, or my team was, for designing the AOL headquarters in Ashburn, all the buildings. So well, after 25 years, I changed my career. It happens. Sometimes you want to see something different. But I went on to facilities. I decided, what? I designed enough buildings for people. Why don't I work in those buildings and actually run them? So I joined Fannie Mae. If you look at the top picture on the top right, I worked at Fannie Mae headquarters downtown, ran and was responsible for all their facilities in Virginia and in Maryland. There was about 13 buildings. I made sure that everything works. After retiring from them, I joined Equinix. So in 2008, I joined Equinix, and when that was 13 years ago, if I can do the math correctly, 21 minus 8 equals 13, got it. And when I started at Equinix, we had 5 data centers in Ashburn. Think about that. I was responsible for 5 data centers in the 13 years. We just finished building data center 21, what we call IBX, DC 21. So it has been an awesome career. We really love it. So my career path was kind of interesting. And that is, as a little child, I always wanted to work in the construction industry. I actually wanted to be a crane operator, guys. I wanted to be a crane operator. I wanted to sit up on top of that crane and move building things around, building buildings. So that's, so I went from wanting to be a crane operator, I designed buildings, made the mechanical electrical systems, and worked with an architectural companies. And then I actually run those buildings. So that kind of gives you a career path of what I had. It kind of followed the same dream, but it did vary in the different projections of where I ended up today. And I love every minute that I had. And what makes it the best is the people I work with. Every one of us is part of the team. And, I don't have people working for me. I actually work for these people. I work with these people. They're all my team members. So a little bit about myself. I know I'm supposed to have 2 minutes. I probably used 4 minutes up here. But I'm going to pass it back to Mary.
All right. Thank you, Detlev. That was really great. It's amazing the you were in on the infancy of Loudoun County with AOL and seen the growth from there. So unbelievable. We did have a question come in while you were speaking. I don't know if you want to take it or somebody else on the team, but what subjects are required for a computer science career?
That somebody else probably could take that. Rob?
Well, I think it's a very wide field.
Right.
You really have to get narrowed down into what level of computer science you want to get into, and that may be a wide-ranging conversation, really. I don't know if I could get into the specifics of that one, but I know for Equinix, we have team members that touch all sorts of functions within the internet, whether it's designing networks, security on the networks, or multi other levels of things that we do. So it just depends on what your aspirations are.
Okay. Well, sticking with you, Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about your role and your background?
Sure. Rob Hepler, Senior Director of Operations for Equinix. I report into Detlev. So I manage 10 of the data centers that roll up to Detlev. My teams are based in Philadelphia, Tysons Corner, Ashburn, and Culpeper, Virginia. I have a total of 99 people on our team. I actually grew up in Fairfax County, graduated from high school in Fairfax County, and similar to Detlev, I actually went to a vocational school right out of high school. Started doing computer repair, network engineering, and kind of morphed into working for a large national general contractor in their IT department. And I was working in their enterprise data center doing network engineering and computer networking. And one of my coworkers was actually at a cocktail party, and she was talking about this new company that was building data centers around the U.S. for other companies. So that's how I got my introduction to data centers, and it kind of launched from there. I've been with Equinix for 20 years now, and it's been a great opportunity to grow in the industry and with the larger team. Myself, like I said, I grew up in Fairfax County. I've lived in Loudoun for over 20 years. I've got two kids who graduated from Dominion High School in Sterling, Virginia. They are both at Virginia Tech. One is a sophomore, one is a freshman. They're in the business school. That's us on the left-hand side there. COVID situation, obviously. The picture to the right is one of our newer data centers that we built in Ashburn, over near where Amber was referring to, by the Washington football team training complex. The middle picture is the inside of one of our data centers. We've got a pretty unique method and model for building our facilities, so they look pretty standard around the world. The next picture is me playing golf. If Detlev doesn't have me doing work, you can generally find me somewhere chasing a white ball. And then the picture on the right is our quarantine situation. Lots of quality family time by the fire pit with our black lab, just enjoying being outside. I think after vocational school, just to go back to the educational piece, I went to Nova for a little while, and then started gearing more towards the online learning piece. So I did a lot of education online. Attended Marist College in New York and Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, where I ultimately ended up getting my degree from. Going back to Equinix, I think one of the great things about our company is all the stuff we get to do. I know for me and myself, I get to work with people in the sales team, people on the finance team, physical security, network security. We're fortunate in the fact that we're such a growing industry. I get to work with our construction teams, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. And one of the things I love is that every day is different for me. I don't get up and get in front of my computer and do the same thing every day. Every day is an adventure, super fulfilling and fun, which is great. Not many people can say that every day.
Thanks, Rob. We and Detlev both mentioned the vocational school. What is the actual name of that school? Was that here in Northern Virginia or?
Yeah, I attended the Computer Learning Center in Springfield, Virginia.
Okay.
And I actually attended a vocational school called Columbia Technical Institute in Arlington. They don't exist anymore, so unfortunately. So, like, you know, I'm a little older. I'm a little bit older than Rob, so by a couple of years. So.
All right, we did have another clarifying question in the chat. Is Equinix a data center or an infrastructure that connects data centers? Maybe something else.
I would say yes to both of those. So it's a data center, and it's a large facility that houses a lot of enterprise customers, cloud service providers, internet firms, and our goal is really to make it easy for those people to connect to each other and to get access to the internet. So I think it's a little of both.
Great answer. All right, Damon, you want to tell us about your background and your role?
How you guys doing? My name is Damon Artison. And my background, man, listening to Detlev and Rob, man, we have one thing in common. We all went to vocational high schools. And that's amazing. I'm born and raised in Chicago, so I went to Chicago Vocational High School. We have a lot of famous graduates that went there, mostly athletes. I wasn't one of them, unfortunately. I tried my best. So instead of going to college right after high school, I actually went to the Army. As you can see, that proud picture on the left, that's me in my full Army stance, just ready for action right there. So I got started in the military doing telecommunications. I went in as a multi-channel communications equipment operator. And I meant I climbed towers and antennas. I put up microwave dishes, and I ran the multiplexer parts of the tactical communications. As a young lad of 18 years old, I was doing that kind of stuff early on. I grew my military career. I became an instructor while I was in the military, and I taught not basic training, but I taught the AIT portion of the schooling where soldiers go to get their schooling from. I was a part of teaching that portion of the class, and I taught cellular systems back in the day back in 1988 when CDMA was thing to be in the future, and the military was ahead of the game in the sense that we were already teaching it back in the late 80s. And so as an instructor and doing cellular communications, I ended up getting out of the military. And in the military, I went to college too, doing the military, University of Maryland. I went to the University of Maryland, Big Bend University, a lot of other universities just to try to better myself educationally. But most of what I learned in the military initially, doing my tours, 5 tours in the military. After 10 years, I got out. And I started working still in the field that I love, telecommunications. I went to a lot of smaller companies as a contractor, and I landed with Sprint Communications. I landed with Sprint, and I heard, this is like in 2000, and I was doing central office work. Central office, that means the telephone office where your home phone, where you pick up phone, hello, everything came out of a central office. But now this new thing was coming out. We were using more and more data. It was more and more data driven. And I got a job with Sprint, working on the cellular side of Sprint, but actually they was building out these 10 data centers in Sprint. And I was like, data centers? I was in central office, but they was building 10 data centers. So I became a project manager managing all 10 installs all over the country. And at the time, I was in Santa Clara, California. And somebody told me to go downstairs in Sprint and apply for the job. The data centers you've been project managing are built now. You can get a job there. I was like, okay, went downstairs, applied for the position. And later that day I had an interview, and I started working for the first time in 2000 in the data centers for Sprint. And it was amazing. It was some of the best work I ever did. And then Sprint decided they didn't want to be in the data center business. And this small company that had a few data centers said, you know what, we're going to buy those Sprint data centers. That company was called Equinix. And in 2003, from Sprint, I became Equinix. And I started off as a lead technician. I worked my way up to site supervisor, and then I moved to Dallas and had to leave my site supervisor position back in California. And from there, I finally worked my way up to about to be supervisor again, and then I quit because I wanted more. So after 4 years at Equinix, I quit, believe it or not, and worked for great companies like Adobe. And you can see the pictures I have in London. This is some of the work I've done in Adobe because I traveled the globe with Adobe. I worked in Amsterdam, all over the country, in London, England, doing just that, installing networks. A lot of the Adobe systems stuff that I installed is still in place today in great countries. So I got to see the world with Adobe. And then I had a boss that was bugging me to come back to Equinix. And he said, man, you can do better. You can do better. And I was like, man, I'm already a manager. I'm already managing people. And he convinced me to come back to Equinix back in 2014. And I've been back loving it ever since. And now that boss called me a traitor now because I moved to Virginia and now I'm working inside of Northern Virginia now, but he still loves me though. And Equinix is one of the best places I've worked at. One of the better part of my life has been spent working with the people that I've known to grow and love in Equinix. And I've learned so many things. Now I'm doing training. I used to be kind of like the same thing that Rob on to explain. I used to manage 6 data centers in Dallas. I managed 6 data centers. I had up to 52 direct employees that I had for me. And I started off as a technician and worked my way up to senior manager, just doing the things that I love, running cable. Equinix is cable, you know, all those connectivities, all those servers and all those switches you guys hear about, they have to be connected some kind of way. And that's what our team has done. We have connected so many people to the internet, just giving them that access. And the physical layer, running the cabling, terminating the cabling. As Detlev kind of put around, he changed his position. So have I. I went to starting to get into the engineering portion, get into the building functions of it. So I got certified and I started working with engineering who make sure the place stay cold, make sure the room stay warm, make sure we got lights, make sure we have all that power that those customers need, because those servers got to run off something. They have to run off power. And we're the ones that do our own power. And I work with those teams. And I really got to really know both sides of the data center world, from the mechanical, electrical, and the network technician side dealing with the fiber cable. So I became very versed in both sides. And just from a little 18-year-old in the Army, I've been kind of doing really the same thing since I've been working. It's been in the business that I love, and that's telecommunications. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Now I get a chance to teach people what I've learned and what I know, and being able to share that knowledge with others. And it's a fulfilling job. And it takes a little while. I know we put out that salary. It takes a little while to get to that. So don't think that's day one salary, guys. I just want to give you guys that clarity. It's not day one salary. But if you stay dedicated, you can get to that. And I'm looking forward to just sharing what I know and answering any question you guys have, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Damon. All right, changing gears. How about Daisy?
Was that a question for me? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask Daisy to give us her background.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daisy Saulls, and I'm actually an executive assistant. Does anybody know what an executive assistant does? Let's see if we can see anything in the chat. So I support Detlev, who you met a little bit earlier, and I support his boss, Chris Kim. And what my role is sort of multi-layered. So I help with scheduling, but I also help them with program management sometimes. And then I also help with event planning and coordinating. So there's a lot of things that I'm involved with. And essentially, it's really anything that the company needs and that they need to be able to be most effective, and just to make sure that everybody is working together and that we're all doing our best. So my background, I started, believe it or not, at Northern Virginia Community College. So I am a huge fan of going to community college first. I worked full-time while I was going to school. And once I graduated from there, I went to William & Mary and got my bachelor's degree in psychology. and I was in pre-med. From there, I also got a bachelor's degree in nursing. So you can already see that I've had a lot of different interests throughout my life. And then from there, what I ended up doing was I worked as an executive director for the Robert Duvall Children's Fund, he's actually a movie star. So this is him right here. And this picture was at the Golden Globes, I believe, is where this picture came from. And another interesting little fact is during this whole time, I was also a photographer. So I actually took this picture. At the same time, I was traveling around the world, working with kids, making sure that programs, for education were being developed, and that girls got to go to school just as much as boys in some different countries. Here's a picture of me doing some nursing work while I was in Ecuador. So I've gotten to do a lot of really fun things. And the most exciting part about it is that I've gotten to use all of those skills here at Equinix as an executive assistant. I've been able to consult a little bit on, how to keep our employees safe with COVID. I've been able to do photography for my boss. I've done his headshots. I've also, been able to use my skills in developing programs like the scholarship that's coming up. And I've gotten to work with so many amazing people. So if there's one thing that for me, I think ties all of these skill sets, maybe not running through fires, because we definitely don't want to do that. But if there's anything that combines all of these skill sets together, is I really love working with people, and I really like to make, things better and where I can, and improve things where I can, and leave things better than I left them. So that's a little bit about me. On my spare time, I do like to run. I've done a couple of races. I haven't done them in a while, but hopefully after COVID clears up, I'll be able to get back to that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Daisy. You might not run through fires, but you help put out, I'm sure, a lot of fires, day-to-day operations. So thank you for sharing your background. All right, Amber, can we go back to you?
Okay. Hi. Thanks for joining again. So I'm Amber Davison, and I've been with Equinix for 5 years. What I'm going to just share with you is a little bit about my education and my background, how I got started at Equinix. So I actually am a business major, and I graduated from the University of Missouri with a marketing and logistics degree. And I was in the Kansas City area, and so the largest employer in Kansas City at the time was Sprint Telecommunications Company. So I worked at Sprint for 10 years. And that's how I actually got out onto the East Coast from the Midwest, was through a job transfer onto the East Coast. So I worked at Sprint for 10 years. I did program management. I did product management. One of the products that I managed, you guys won't even know of this product, but before you had a cell phone, if you were at an airport and you needed to make a phone call back to your company, you had to use, it was called a phone card, and you would have to go to a payphone and put in the number you wanted to dial and the billing number on your calling card, and your call would go through a payphone. And so I was the product manager for the Sprint phone card, and I did that for a long time. And then I got married and started my family, and so I took a 10-year maternity leave. And I am so proud to be able to tell you that I was able to do that. And it was a tough decision to make, to leave the workforce, because I had a really good job, but it was something that I wanted to do. And so I've returned part-time to the workforce just not too long ago, and then full-time 5 years ago when I took this job at Equinix. And so what I do now at Equinix is I'm on the sales side of the house, and I help all of our new partners that partner with Equinix. They help us sell our colocation and data services. So I help them as they come on board and get familiar with our Equinix services and policies and procedures, and welcome them into our company and how to grow our partnership together. And so that in a nutshell is what I I do in my professional life. On my personal life, I'm sharing with you that I have 3 kids here. I've got my son, Matt, is a junior at Virginia Tech. He's in the College of Engineering. He's a computer science major, and he didn't, back in when he was going through Loudoun County Public Schools, he didn't have a lot of the opportunities that you guys have right now in terms of like these job for a day and all the resources that you have. So take advantage of those. I can't even stress to you how important that is to take advantage of that and find out, just soak up as much information as you can about what potential interests you might have later on. And then my daughter, Sarah, is also at Virginia Tech, and she's interested in medicine. And then I have a younger daughter who's a junior at Woodgrove, and she's enjoying the virtual work from backyard with all of her pets around here. So that's me. I'm Amber Davison. Thanks for allowing me to share a little bit about my background with you.
Well, it's great to hear from you, Amber and Daisy, on International Women's Day and your remarkable backgrounds and where you are in your careers. So thank you. All right, last but not least, Obrien.
Hey folks, first I just want to say that I'm representing B Woods here. I have two kids that went there. They went on to go to, one went to UVA and the last one's finishing up at JMU. I'm going to spend most of my time on my current position because it's pretty exciting and pretty relevant to a lot of things that we do today in our daily lives. I'm what they call a solutions architect. So, well, a lot of the team here, Rob, Detlev, Damon, they build the data centers and run the data centers, and we kind of would look at that as the foundation, like your house, right? It's something that you can build your digital infrastructure on top of, right? So reliability is really important, and keeping the lights on, and you just can't afford to lose your Netflix on TV when you want to watch it, right? So the Amber named a couple of companies, TikTok and Spotify, and I'll just throw out a few others: Facebook, eBay, Uber, Amazon, Snapchat, Twitter, Netflix, Venmo, Tesla. The interesting part about a lot of these companies that they pretty much didn't exist more than 15 years ago, and many of them are more current than 15 years ago. And if I was to describe, what Equinix is, to someone who didn't know, I would say that everything that you did on your phone today, assuming it was all schoolwork, but if you were on, Snapchat or whatever, that all goes through Equinix. But in general, there isn't an industry or a field that's unaffected by digital technology today. So what my role is to work with existing customers and prospects to help them on their digital journey. And what that means is a lot of these companies now need to use what they call the cloud. And the cloud is nothing more than a bunch of computers and storage that people kind of rent as a utility, as opposed to having a PC desktop. And they use these to run their business. They use these to create their products. There's anything that's, if you think about gaming, that might be relevant to you folks. They all run online. They all run in the cloud, if you will. And Equinix's role is to make all that work in regards to network, which everything starts with. If you think about it, you all have internet at home. And you have to connect to these. You have to connect to these applications that you want to use online. So that's what Equinix does, kind of in a nutshell. Is kind of connects these pieces to the end user. And at the end of the day, the end user is us. It's the people that are consuming these. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in Loudoun, and specifically inside of Equinix. Equinix, a little shout for us. We were pretty much the first data center. We were the first big data center in Loudoun County. And we provided that place where all that internet traffic peers or talks to each other. And then what the companies who use Equinix do is they again want to be really close to the end user for a good experience. And if you think about watching Netflix, you know, you don't want it buffering. So my goal, my job is to help those people and customers interconnect to their business partners or sell their product online. As far as my my college and my development and career development over time, I might be like a few of you on here that didn't know what they wanted to do when they got out of high school. And my father had a friend that worked at a company that was called Wang Laboratories. It was I was trying to think, how do I explain a word processor to someone who's under 18? It was kind of basically what we use today in Word, Microsoft Word, or we use in Google, Google Docs, but it would fill up a room. So I ended up coming into the field like that and worked in a various bunch of companies, but it was really the lifelong learning piece, stitching together my whole career, right? It wasn't just getting out of college, it was really continuing that education to evolve, because to my point where a lot of those companies didn't exist 15 years ago, you got to kind of keep moving as your career goes on. So the certifications that you get to take and, you know, classes along your life and the people that you are going to meet along the way, that I would highly encourage people to get a mentor or, you know, friends that you can rely on that can help you navigate your career. So really lucky to end up where I ended up inside of Equinix, and my advice would just be, you know, that the people come first, right? From an education and schooling, you'll always build onto that. My son didn't know what he wanted to do when he went down to JMU, and after a long discussion, it took a year for him to identify a major. And I said, Sean, at the end of the day, English and math, you know, and building upon that from a business perspective, you'll be able to do anything in life going forward. So that's where he kind of ended up. And I'll stop there because I know I've had one run-on sentence.
Thanks, Jay. And that actually built on some of the questions in the chat about, you know, what to study in high school in anticipation for college. And Rob Hepler mentioned you all need mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, construction managers, business managers, finance people. If we talk a little bit about math, like, you know, our kids take everything from, you know, geometry on through to Calc AB. You know, how important is math at the high school level, and what types of math?
Me personally, I think, you know, for math is kind of a, it's a lot of times it's either you're good at it or you're bad at it, right? And math, you know, from anywhere from running a business, right, from a sales, you know, make money at the end of the day, as all businesses want to do, is really important. But the math piece that goes into computer processing, the underlying technology in any computer is basically math, right? It's ones and zeros, but it's formulas that actually go in to kind of create an output. And we use math in a lot of places that we don't realize that we use math. I know in the operations, you know, perspective, and I was what they called a sales engineer before I did this role, you know, I had to understand power, you know, and wattage and how, and you don't want to, you have to get everything just perfectly right from a math sense that you don't basically burn the building down. But yeah, from a math perspective, I think that at the end of the day, that goes into any field as a foundation.
Thank you.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Jay. I mean, it's a building block for everything and anything we do and have to do here at Equinix. And I've seen a lot of questions of what's available out there. And I think Rob and Daisy and some others have kind of highlighted the various jobs that we have. I mean, it does range. It's amazing that Equinix as a data center company just doesn't have just operators. But we have a lot of different things as well. It goes, I think we started from sales to marketing to operations. And operation consists of, my God, probably 10 different jobs within operations. You have managers, you have people managers, you have finance. We are required to have some customer relationship. There's a whole other things involved with that. You have warehouse support. You have technicians that install and run cross connects, connect the people to make sure that this call works today is an important part. Our engineers, like Rob mentions, you have electrical and mechanical engineers, but we also have security engineers. And it doesn't mean that they're actually out there in the security booth watching who's coming in and out, but they make sure that the security systems work properly. So they do a lot of coding, they work with our vendors. Then you have our controls people. Controls, what does controls do within a data center? Well, guess what? They actually make all those mechanical, electrical systems work together. Make sure that the control systems, that the air condition comes on at the right time, that the electrical light, that the lights work, that the UPS systems, uninterruptible power supplies, work correctly, that the generators come on when the power drops off from the utility grid. So you got a lot of big variety of just job positions available. And so if you go actually to Equinix.com and look at the job postings that we have available, it is a big variety compared to a lot of other companies. It is a huge variety, and more than I've ever seen in every other job that I've had. So just take a look at that. So there's one fit for the other, but like I'm going back to what Jay was saying, math is the underlying science that is really required for this particular position. Everything you rely on that. And I like to kind of point a couple other things out. When we interview, and I'm looking just in the East region for operations only, we probably hire 30 people a year. And that is because people might leave, but in the majority it's because we grow. So we do look at their history of what they have done and where they, what education they have, where they worked before. But that is a very small part of why we hire certain people. It's basically, are you a culture fit? I'm kind of going back that you have to have certain soft skills. It's an important part to being part of the team. So what are the soft skills that we're looking for? I mean, teamwork, problem solving, worth ethics that come in, very important part. That is just as equal as, hey, do you know how to run a cross connect, etc. I mean, look at the values that we have, that we set ourselves and we live by within Equinix. Have an open mind, open your heart, be able to speak up. When you make a promise, keep a promise. And one of the most important ones that I always say, be an energy supplier. You got to have the energy to work. And sometimes it's a bad day at work. Stuff happens, and I lose my headset right now. But anyway, stuff happens. But you know what? We can get energy out of this and work together. Very simple. Serve others. Damon works for me. Rob works for me. They don't really work for me. We help each other out. We help each other to make this a wonderful place to work. Finding a better place. Keep growing. Just because you become a technician or just because you are a warehouse person when you joined us, doesn't mean that's where you end up when you retire. We do have a lot of people that have actually started out in the warehouse position. Let's just say that. And they have become managers to run big teams. I have a senior director that started out as a technician. That person ran cross connects from one server to another server. He actually runs a team of about 100 people and is responsible for a lot of data centers. So that's, keep working together. Yeah, Damon, there we go. And again, we put we before me. Important part. It's us, not I. Very simple. It's us. And then speak up and step up. If you have an issue, speak up. Be free to open and say something. We are wrong sometimes. Very simple in management. We're sometimes wrong. We have to correct that. So anyway, this is my little spiel about the personalities and teams that we look for when we hire people. You become part of the Equinix family, and there are very few people do leave. I probably have 20% or more of my team at Equinix in the East regions have a career of 15 to 20 years within Equinix. That's a long career these days. And not a lot of them want to leave because we are family. So anyway, that's me.
I like your comment, we before me. That's excellent.
Yes.
We're about out of time here. I didn't know, Daisy, if there's one, if you want to give a little sneak peek. I know you mentioned it in the chat about the scholarship opportunities with NOVA coming up. Just letting, making them aware of that before we wrap up.
Sure, we're actually going to be sending out an email, so you guys can be on the lookout for that. In the chat box, I have put 2 links. One link is for the Data Center Career Certificate Program. It's 2 semesters long, and it's a great way for you guys to get an entry-level position into our operations side of the house. And there's a scholarship involved with it, so you could actually go to school for free. And there's an internship, paid internship opportunity with it, as well as mentorship opportunity. So I also included the link for NOVA's scholarship page on there as well.
Great, thank you. And thank you all for answering questions in the chat as well as live. We appreciate your time very much today.
So I did want to offer up, I put my LinkedIn in the chat window here. So if there's anybody out there that wants to follow up around data center technologies, and I know we threw a lot at you today, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to assist.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for hosting.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.